correspondence?
There is, it's in your packet.
This the one you gave us?
It's just notification from Empire State Development, that, they'll be sending me a form to either surrender our bond allocation every year. They receive the bond allocation, it's about $536,000 last year. And they ask for it back for use for elsewhere, or if we're gonna continue to use it, so I'll do that by September 15th.
That's all the correspondence?
Yes.
Let me, not keep these gentlemen waiting too long. Is anyone else here that's a baby? No, that's not, okay. So we're going to item 7, old business. We have a resolution number 3518 to, consider the authorized closing of the Culverton Addiction Treatment Center. So, at this point, Dick, explain what we're doing, briefly, if you can.
Okay, well, the board had previously approved the application, and the approval was subject to approval of final documents. Peter Curry, attorney for the applicant, is present this evening. He and I have been working on the documents. We have them in final form. There are also financing documents for a loan in the amount not to exceed $49 million through M&T Bank. And the resolution authorizes the chair to sign them in substantially the form they've been presented to the board. I emailed them around. We had them hammered out by Friday. I emailed them to the board then, so everyone has them. And, we're going to have a pre-closing tomorrow at 3 o'clock at their offices up in Hopwog. And the funding will occur either the next day or the following day, and the project will be closed. I understand that the town of Riverhead building permit is about to be issued, if it hasn't been issued. Has been issued. I saw some correspondence today from the building department in that regard. And, so the project is ready to proceed, subject to your board's approval of this resolution.
All right, somebody give me a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any questions, any thoughts? All right, I'm gonna use the polling way, so I'll call the roll. In no particular order, Bob Kern? On the table. Okay. Lori?
In favor?
Okay. Tony? Caruso? Oh,
I'm in
sorry.
favor.
There he is. And Larry Sims.
Well, I'm staying on this one.
Okay. So if I got it right, we got a 4-0.
I did, in favor.
All right. Well, that's it, I get to sign all these things. Our council assures me no problem for me signing them, and,
Good luck, you
Good luck
guys.
with the project.
we wish you the best of luck, and, we know that you're gonna be helping a heck of a lot of our folks in town, not only the people who need the service, but, those who are their relatives, friends, and what have you. So best wishes to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Forward to a long and harmonious relationship. Thank you.
Amen. All right, we'll go back to the order now. Any more correspondence? No, like you said,
No.
And Mr. Treasurer, the treasurer's report, please.
Okay, the cash balance of People's United checking account as of June 30th, 2018 was $246,721.58. Revenues for the month of June 2018 include interest earning of $6.18 and the late compliance report penalties of $1,183.34. Expenses paid on a cash basis for the month of June 2018 totaled $11,563.09. All second half pilot payments were collected and remitted to the taxing jurisdictions as of June 30th, 2018.
You also wanna do this month's, financials, that was, the previous month.
Good, that was my next question.
This should be in your packet.
Should be
Oh,
the next one.
No.
We didn't have a meeting
Oh.
last week.
Oh,
last month.
sorry, alright, so is this it?
My 31.
Okay, so the revenues for the month of July, in the People's United Bank checking account, it's $233,627.62.
Just a correction, that's the cash balance, not the revenues.
Did I say revenue?
You did.
Oh, sorry,
Mhm.
okay, alright, that's cash balance. The revenues, for the month of July 2018 included interest earnings of $6.19. Expenses paid, cash basis for the month of July 2018 total $15,680.58.
All right, refresh my, memory, someone, the, LDC activity, there's $500 there, is that the amount it's supposed to be, or is it $250?
No, it's 500, and by the
Okay.
end of the year, we'll
So
transfer.
that's what it is, Any other questions, thoughts, revisions? Nope.
So it's one resolution to accept both.
Yeah, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the treasurer's reports for months June and July are done
And that
and
was Bob
accepted.
and Lori, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
There it is.
Still no committee reports?
No.
Okay. Just as a reminder, toward the end of the meeting, section, 8, Roman numeral, we're gonna go into, an executive session on personnel matters, and then we'll, come back after that and, finish the meeting, which will be short thereafter. So back to old business. We've authorized the closing of the Calverton Addiction Treatment Center, and we need to consider 3618 resolution to amend the broadcasting policy. You wanna tell us why
I was
we're doing that?
contacted by the town, after we had adopted and submitted this to the supervisor's office and the clerk's office and all the appropriate parties, that they wanted us to amend the language because we, referenced a town employee operating the equipment, and in fact, it's currently a consultant. But instead of just putting consultant, as I said in the email, in the event it goes back to being an employee, we used contracted employee designee or designee to operate. Unless there's another suggestion. So those are, you should have a red line version.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept
Thank you, Bob.
resolution 3618.
Second.
Thank you, Larry. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, approved. Now on to new business.
Tom,
Yes,
I have a couple of things under old business I'd like to bring up briefly.
go ahead.
Thank you. At the July 26th meeting with the town board, one of the things that came up was a discussion of competition and fees. Tracy pointed out that it's not competition, it's regional progress. And added that, Tracy, I assume you have collected data and started to analyze it on competitive fees. I would just like to know if you could share that data with me and with any other directors that are interested.
It was provided
just
to the
say-
governance committee, correct? Did I provide it to the governance committee?
Yes,
And it's still being reviewed, but there were recommendations made to address the finance policy.
So
Not
is
the finance, but the schedule of fees.
it not available to members at large? Is it restricted to the governance committee?
No, no,
no, of course not.
Okay.
I can forward it.
Forward it to me, that's all.
Anybody else not have it? Let's see, the governance committee is Lori and Tony and me.
Right.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay. Just see that Larry and, Bob get one, get a copy. It's two pieces, correct? And it has one that says, this is what it's like now. The second one just shows what the changes that are proposed are.
For discussion purposes at this point.
Right.
I'm sorry?
For
It's just,
discussion
Yeah.
purposes at this point.
Yeah. So let's put that down for the next meeting, all right?
And I would just like to correct your quote of me during the meeting. I do view the IDAs as a regional economic development engine. There is somewhat a level of competition when it comes down to it. If a company wants to start, going that route, but I believe that the relationships with the IDAs at this point in time have developed into a much stronger communication pool where we can negate any bidding war.
Okay, good.
We're very, very happy with that, to have
Yeah, I'm very happy with
that
that.
kind of relationship with, our nearby, industrial development. Anything else?
Yeah, I do have a few others. The second one is closely related. Price matching between IDAs, competition. I had questioned when we were reviewing the Twin Forks application, whether the price matching clause in our UTEP, the Uniform Tax Exemption Policy, always applied automatically, or if it applied if and when a specific offer from the county IDA was on the table. The answer I got here was that it was automatic and applied all the time. So I called, Tony Catapano, who is Exec Director of the Suffolk County IDA. We had a nice chat. And I asked him, because they have a functionally identical clause allowing them to match offers from local IDAs, I asked him how that operates. He prefaced it by stressing that there was no interest in poaching where there is a local IDA operating, but he said that their matching clause would not be employed unless the local IDA had an active offer on the table on a specific project. So I'm reporting that back to the group. I suggest that our policy of matching phantom offers needs to be reversed, and I propose that we do so.
That would probably, should be sent to the governance committee, I would think, because the governance committee had looked into that and should evaluate that information. That's good information for them to utilize in assessing the situation.
Do you want to formalize this with a request to the governance committee, or does our conversation here?
It'll just be in our minutes that we're sending it to the government committee.
Right,
Perfect.
and I'll make sure that it's on the agenda for the next
Great.
meeting.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
The next one, I've got three more notes, they're all brief.
Really new business? No?
The next one is about adaptive reuse, which we discussed at our last regular meeting. I had suggested a campaign focused on the enhanced benefits that are available under our uniform policy to convert existing buildings to new uses. I think most of you were receptive to that, but there was some concern expressed during the meeting and after the meeting about avoiding duplication of effort.
Correct.
Now, I'm not sure what effort is being referenced, but I wanna, again, report on what I found. I've talked to at least a dozen people, including property owners and developers and contractors, none of whom were aware that enhanced benefits were available from the IDA for this type of situation. I probably attended as many meetings before I was sitting at this table as anyone in town, and I was not aware of it.
When you're talking about it, let me just ask you this question because it's important to me. When you're talking about enhanced benefits,
Double
explain this
485
situation.
Double 485B. If you have an existing facility.
Who is it you talked to that should have known or should not have known or what? I don't understand that.
I think it should be widely known throughout the town if we want
Is that
people
what
to
you're
take
saying?
advantage of it.
Got it, okay.
That's just my personal feeling.
Sure.
I talked to somebody on the landmarks committee, and he was not aware of the benefit. He said that our enhanced benefit, the double 485B, essentially matches what the IDA can do. So there's no help there for them unless they run into a building that doesn't qualify. They have serious constraints on when they can apply or award their benefits. If a building is 45 years old instead of 50 years old, it's off limits to them, but they could kick it over to us if they thought it was a building that should be saved. So he was generally in favor of promoting this. So to me, the measure is simple. If people don't know that the benefit exists, whatever previous or current efforts to promote it, don't matter because they haven't had the desired effect. So I think a concerted effort needs to be made to promote that this is available.
What would you suggest? Brian? you and I talked on this, but I'm just asking you, tell us what you suggest as an approach to finding out who these folks are.
Finding out who the folks are?
Well, there's, if I understand you from the last time and from what you're saying today, you think there may be properties out there that could be, helped with something like this, to go in a different direction than just sitting on the vacant property, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I got it.
My inclination
got it.
would be to reach out to, landmarks certainly, people on the planning board, the zoning board, within the planning department, because they're gonna see things that landmarks will never see. You've got the Sports Authority building, the Walmart building. I just think, initially within town hall, an effort to make sure people are aware of what we can do and under what circumstances. And then we can promote it, on a broader basis.
Okay, thanks.
It was just after that discussion, I asked a bunch of people, and those that had not read the article in the press did not know.
Okay. Well, it seems to me that we might as well just give that to the governance committee also. And, make it worth your while to do two things in one shot. Okay, so we're gonna do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Two more points. And, this is from also the July 26th meeting, which of course I viewed on tape. There was a discussion about the process, and there was
About the what?
about the process.
Process.
Our agency's process, and there were some questions, a desire to list all people that applied even informally, and Dick recited some of the reasons that we had to be cautious about that. That was the start of the discussion. And at one point, Councilwoman Diglio jumped in and said the likelihood of getting approved under the state laws that you, the IDA, are bound by, is a problem. She repeated it. I know that you, the IDA, are bound by the state authority as to what can and can't be approved. And I viewed that in context a few times, and I don't understand to what she was referring. It seems to me that there are no such restrictions. Completed the state training, and I've read all our governing documents, and it seems to me that, like, the limitation on what we can do is how much tax is assessed, is applied to a project. We can't give away more than that, but there are no limits on which projects, generally speaking. There are no time limits. The state does require us to have a uniform policy in print, which we do, but I'm not aware of any aspect of state government that tells us what that policy has to say. And in any case, the state seems to be okay with the fact that there's a clause in each section of the uniform policy that says we, the IDA, reserve the right to award more benefits or less benefits, meaning we can pretty much do what we want. So I'm wondering if anybody on the board can tell me what the councilwoman was referring to when she said that we're bound by.
Yes, please.
Could I address that, because you have to read the general municipal law section that talks about what IDAs statewide are permitted to be involved in. There are restrictions for railroad properties. There are restrictions for,
Indian property.
There-
Native American.
Native American.
Yep.
There are restrictions for retail. There are other restrictions for bonds. When you're into a bonded project, the restrictions have to do with the federal income tax law. Warehousing as a primary use is not permitted for a bonded project. When the agency is reviewing a project, we have to follow due process. And what I was trying to explain to the council and the board and everyone there is that when somebody casually asks a board member or the executive director, what do you think of this project? no proper answer is determined for that until it's gone through the procedural due process that's required. And so, to have a list of casual, if you'll excuse my phrase, answers to that due process question is not appropriate, because people may choose not to prosecute their application. If they realize that they have 42% retail, they may not come and ask the agency, or they might amend their project to reduce it to 27% retail to try to fit it into the project. You know, that we won't know any of all that until we've gone through it. So I was trying to caution both boards, the town board and the agency board, to not, expect that unless it's a formal application with a formal review, we can have a proper comment of what the result is. So that's what that was about.
I thought your due process explanation was very clear, I'm not.
So then we have to fit within the rules, retirement communities. There are certain type of retirement communities that are permitted, certain type of retirement communities that aren't permitted. It's more than our UTEP policy, it's
Okay.
the state law, it's the tax law.
I think I'd like to pursue that with you outside the meeting, but I understand what type of thing you're talking about. Thank you.
You okay with that?
Yeah, fine.
Good. Any more?
Yeah,
If they're not on the agenda and you start to get along, how many more do you have?
one,
Okay, fine.
there was a point, again, in the July 26th joint session, where the subject of files and records came up, and the supervisor asked, where is all that retained, is it in town hall? Tracy, I'm going from the tape as accurately as I can. If I make a mistake, please correct me. I believe he said, no, it's in our office. We're an independent authority. And Laura said, so all the files and records are kept in your office, and he said, that's correct. And then she asked about the IT cloud for record keeping, and you said that there are 3 backup systems, and I think you asked not to have to go into the detail of how they work, but the clear impression I got was that everything is backed up in 3 off-site locations.
No, not 3 off-site locations.
3 locations
3 locations, one is
including one
definitively
off-site?
off-site,
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
so that everybody knows.
Okay. In my experience, both as a director briefly and as a member of the public, when I have sought to examine files, by request here or via FOIL, they've always been brought in from someone, and I've always been told that they have not been scanned, so they can't be emailed to me. So, one thing that tells me is if they're not scanned, then they can't be backed up in the cloud, because there are no images. The other thing is that, and in fact, the last time I had requested to look at 3 project files, and Tom was good enough to host me in the office, and project files covered a tabletop, and I reviewed the files, and then he was nice enough to give me a tour of the office, including the upstairs closet, and I didn't see project files anywhere. I mean, I know these are voluminous files, original documents, transactional documents that have been signed, and I'm really confused about where they are located and whether they're backed up.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't see them. They, as far as I'm aware, and what was provided to me when I took over the position, all the files, hard copy, are in the office. If there was lost in transportation, that was prior to my arrival. But I have not gone through every single file of every historic project to check to see if it's there. When I was speaking with the supervisor, I said all our files are retained in our office. I did not say all our files are electronically prepared. There are some hard copy files of which you went through during your visit to the office, and there are some that are electronic. So when she asked me about the backup, whatever is on my computer is backed up in 3 separate spaces. Whatever is hard copy file, of which you refer to with your foils, I will have to scan and provide to you. And I never, ever, ever said that I had to get files from somewhere to provide to you, unless at that point we were in transit, when we were moving offices. And with the new consultant that we hired, the first project she is, working on is, we talked about getting zip drives for each, each project, so that I could have a zip drive of everything that's on my computer in the hard copy file. So, but I am a stickler for always having, or trying to have paper copy backup as well as electronic. And right now, I don't have both with everything, but we're working there.
Thank you.
So on the project files you have, is there either a hard copy backup or a digital backup?
Typically. Where else would they be? It's either a hard copy or electronic.
Well, there might not be any backup. You said you don't have, uniformly have both. I'm wondering if you have a backup on
For
everything.
whatever projects I've processed since I've been there, yes.
And older projects might have no backup?
Could be.
Okay. And if we walked over to the office right now and I just rattled
Pulled
off
out
some random names of projects, all the files would be there?
I can't say that. I just said to you, I don't know about older files.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on. New business. We need to approve a resolution to consider our executive director's attendance at the Long Island Business Development
Sorry.
Conference, is that what it is?
Yes.
You've gone to this before.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, give me a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, Tracy,
I'm sorry,
just tell us a little bit about, what goes on there and what you've gotten out of it in the past.
Sorry, who was the second?
It doesn't matter.
So this is more of a local, conference. I hadn't gone for a number of years because the first few years I didn't feel it was as productive as it has become. They have greater regional, actually they're having the, New York State Economic Development Council executive director speak at this one. But because don't have the liberties of getting outside the office and doing a lot of the local networking that everyone else does, the luncheons or seminars. This is a good conference to do that and to rub shoulders with the brokers, the developers, the financiers, all in one shot, where I don't necessarily can get out for the regular stuff that the other ideas.
Now, you were there last year, is that
I
correct?
was.
Okay.
And they also have an awards, ceremony.
All right, anybody,
I
have
did
any questions?
send over the agenda. Last year, there was a really good one on assessing, seminar on assessing. This one is, and I probably didn't think of that for myself. So Ryan Silva, the executive director of New York State's the first speaker the evening of Wednesday. And then the economic growth is the seminar opening conference in the morning with a, guest speaker as well. Then developers leading the way is the next title of discussion. Another awards dinner, and guest speaker is, the Nassau County Executive for Thursday night. And then, breakfast panel for economic overview with, the president of the New York Business Development Corporation and associated panelists, and it ends Friday.
Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I suppose.
sir?
I oppose.
Okay. Larry Sim opposed, the rest are for it. I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm glad you're going again. All right, when you're, oh, yes, we had one more, and a very good one. It's all good, but. Need a motion for resolution 3818.
So moved.
Thank you. Who was that?
Who seconded?
I did.
Okay. And, any discussion on that?
I'm very happy to support this resolution and to bring some additional assistance to Tracy and, moving forward in our vision for what we want to achieve in terms of the transparency and the assistance and getting, more of our files in electronic format. It'll be a great thing. Our website improvements, this will be a very big help, I think.
We met on Saturday. You could say hi, she's watching. Hi, Kim. She should be, watching live stream right now, if she can get it. And, we met on Saturday and hit the ground running.
Great.
So you believe it's a good start?
I do.
All right. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Or did we do that already?
No, we didn't vote on that.
Was
Got it,
everyone in
got it.
favor?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anybody opposed? Okay, very good. That will certainly help. And now we're ready for your executive director's report.
Can I ask a question?
Larry?
We received, some correspondence in the packet from and about Country Limo. Is that going to be on the agenda at some point?
As I noted in my email to you, it will be addressed during my executive director's report.
Thank you.
On to my executive director's report.
Timely.
So as you noted
Just
in.
one question first.
Sure.
During executive session, is the camera still running?
No.
Okay.
It isn't running?
During executive session? No, it's
Did you
closed.
say that, or executive director?
No, executive session.
Yeah, the answer definitely no, okay.
We're working with Island. They're going to need to refinance soon. They got me draft applications, but it wasn't sufficient enough to do a presentation, although you've been aware of it for a year now. And so hopefully they will definitively be on at the next meeting with the efforts toward retention on that. We will be having a finance committee meeting. You didn't respond.
It's in
Okay,
that letter,
okay,
I'll
very
discuss
good.
it with you after the meeting.
We did a draft budget, but I wanna review it one more time before I send it out.
Is everybody else okay on that date?
Yeah,
We'll talk after the meeting.
okay. So, in reviewing, compliance, I sent you information regarding Country Limousine, who made a request for a fee waiver because they were late with, they were on time with their compliance report, as I explained. However, it was grossly, critical components were not completed within the project. And so, in our cover letter, it clearly states it must be fully complete. I sent you a copy of that. And, the cover letter included annual compliance clearly indicates failure to return the completed reports notarized and with all pages properly completed constitutes a default in the company's agreement with the agency and will result in late reporting fees. Critical components were incomplete or missing, such as employment numbers, sales tax numbers, required attachments such as the, backup New York State 45 report, as well as a certificate of insurance which was inappropriately, additionally insured for the bid, not the IDA. Country Limo did send a letter, and if there's any questions with regard to their letter that I didn't answer, I'd be happy to answer it at this moment.
All right,
I did draft, a resolution if the board wants to consider waiving the fee. or not, it's
Yeah,
worded,
let's use that
it's
resolution.
worded both ways.
And we have it?
I did not give it out
Okay.
because it was during my executive director's report.
I have two questions, Tracy. First, the owner is saying that because, no sales tax was paid to the state or county, and the name company had no employees, that she didn't think that there would be a report due.
Right,
The question is, what had happened in prior years as far as reporting? Had this been the first year, I would kind of understand some
Absolutely.
uncertainty there, but this
Right,
was the
you're on the
seventh
money.
year, that's why I'm asking.
yes, and this is, I think I said year 7 for them. They're very familiar with what is entailed in their project, and Dark Horse Restaurant is clearly a part of their project and has always been reported. I've always collected information on Dark Horse Restaurant.
So previous applications
Absolutely.
were complete. and
Previous
okay,
compliance reports, yes.
that's what I meant, thank you. The second question is, she seemed to be concerned not just about the March 21st date on which she received the notification from you, but the fact that the application was submitted about 5 or 6 weeks prior to that. I don't know what the due date was. Was there a reason that it took a long time to let them know that it was incomplete?
There is a due date, and I certainly cannot process the compliance reports the minute they come in, which is why I noted in my email to the board that if they are on time, and when I get to reviewing them, deficiencies are found, it is from that point of their notification to them that there's deficiency, to the time they respond to that deficiency, that they are charged the late fee. They will be automatically charged a late fee if it's not complete. They will be automatically charged a late fee if they are late.
Is the late fee a flat charge, or
There's a-
does it vary depending on how much time is left?
There's a flat charge, and then there is a 30-day, I have, I think I sent it, but let me see.
You did.
if I-
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, yeah, a
So she got the
30-day
fee
prorated,
in 130 day,
Right.
and it's the total is 650, is that correct? Yes.
yes,
Okay.
is that clear?
It's very clear, and just a comment, I'm not questioning when everything happened, but it seems to me maybe the late charge for not having the complete report is appropriate, but because of the delay in letting her know that it was incomplete, maybe the prorated fee should be late. Maybe that's a decent compromise, that's what I would recommend.
All right, let's, put this motion on the floor, and then that'll be the first comment, Larry's recommendation. I need a motion to approve or not approve, Country Limousine, request for a,
I'll move to consider the request to waive the fee.
okay, that's good. Give me a second.
Second.
All right. So Larry has already mentioned
sorry.
his thought.
I think you're needed here.
Yeah, but it'll be soon.
Still the executive
Let it
director's
go up.
report.
Thank you.
It's gonna keep going for a while.
Tracy, I have a question
Still
on that.
rolling, right?
Right, this is,
I understand,
I just wanna make sure she didn't think this was the
no, she
executive.
doesn't.
Okay,
I understand that there's a late fee, it's not completed, X, Y. Now, by the time, when you responded to that person, whatever date, I think it was a March date or something like that, is there a waiver of time, 2 weeks, 2 business weeks?
oh, to respond from the
To
time I
respond
noticed.
from when you,
No,
alright, then I would agree with Larry, is that there should be, we should, maybe through the governance committee, set up a time frame of, maybe giving them 15 days, whatever we think is a reasonable time.
I like that.
can I recommend that to the governance committee?
Yes,
Cause
please
I'll
do.
think of
Please
one
do.
thing right off the bat, that it shouldn't be late and it shouldn't be incomplete,
Because
so.
it's almost like, to me, it's almost like double fining somebody. I
Well-
just found out that I'm missing this, even though
Right.
they've had 7 years.
Right.
It shouldn't be.
Right.
So I think that 500 should stick, but I would give that, maybe we're remiss for not having a leeway of a couple weeks to respond.
Sure, as long
That's all
as
I'm
that
saying.
doesn't become habitual with everyone, where they're just getting it in on time, but it's blank.
Absolutely.
See,
Well,
I know.
we have something, for instance, in our IDA, at our HOA there, you get one warning, the second one is on you. You know, you get one shot, you're gonna do it every year, you're gonna get fined.
Well, the
This
I think the,
project is there.
right,
See, for me, had it been the first year, to your point, Larry, then, with some grace. But on the other hand, having done it 7 years correctly, and there's a mistake in the 8th year, I'm wondering, I lean more toward, I'm not sure,
But then it puts the executive director in a position of what's arbitrary and what's not,
no,
and what's,
I'm
know.
trying to weigh that, I understand.
So-
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
get it.
properly report to the board as you have,
Yes.
that this is the
Right.
question
Yes.
for the board, and once you've reported it, it's
Right.
for the board to
Done it.
decide
Right.
what their position is, and it sounds like there's some compromised position developed.
All right, anybody else would like to speak?
I mean,
So this is still under the motion to move to consider request to
Yeah.
waive the fee, correct? Okay.
everybody is signing a commitment when they close an IDA project, that they will provide the information that's required of us to report to the state. It's something we take very seriously, as we should. I understand both sides of the issue. I want to encourage and support people's people's reporting and the thoroughness of that and the correctness of that. But I also understand this is the 8th year. I mean, I don't know if what's changed, if maybe the person who's reporting on her behalf maybe is a different person, I'm not sure. But I think it's important that we bring this up at the governance committee meeting next to change our or to confirm the policy that we want moving forward. I do want to encourage and support our local business people at the same time. And I know it can be onerous, but it's a commitment that they make when they sign up for IDA benefits, and I take that very seriously, so.
All right, at this point, I'm suggesting that we put this on hold. Give me a proper.
Okay, I just want to remind the board that in our fee waiving policy, which I had also attached, we have a timeline to respond. I did notify by email only that it would be considered tonight. So whatever the board does, please, whether I have to notify her and say more due diligence is necessary or more time is necessary, but, I'll need direction from the board. But the fee policy states
And you
that
need
a
it now, you're
determination
saying?
will be made,
Okay.
in 60 or 90 days, whatever it was. Just to make you aware.
So, we can't, if we put this on hold to discuss it in the government committee, we can't really give you anything except more due diligence is being done. Is that correct?
Well, what I'm hearing is that the board wants to go back and review the policy. And that in turn may change the outcome of this
Okay.
determination. So,
I would suggest that probably changing the policy is not the appropriate answer to her request.
Right.
The answer to her request is based on the policy as you wish to apply it.
Right.
And then going forward, the governance committee could look back on how that worked out and say, thought that was appropriate or not.
So are you saying then, and I can understand both sides of the story then, is that, the way I'm reading it right now, is that future episodes, we may decide to change that policy.
And next year,
Leeway.
when the
But right
report-
now, that policy is X.
It's the written policy.
And for 7 years, they did X, and then 8th year, or whatever it is, they're doing Y. So I would say maybe going forward with another project, or any project, all projects, we may wanna just take another look at it.
So somebody brought up the question, did they have a change of who was, I guess, helping them report in the 8th year?
I don't know, I just threw that out there, like,
No,
I
know,
can't
no, I mean,
understand,
I'm
but
just,
it
I don't
could happen.
know, I'm just curious, I mean, is any record of that,
But
or?
still doesn't take the owner responsibility.
No, I understand.
To me, being a business owner, and they've done this, the first year, they're going blind, I get that.
Right.
they would probably go to Tracy and see, how do I fill this thing out? But they should have looked at even the year prior and saying, hey, if somebody else was doing it for them, let's make sure X is the same as Y going forward.
Anybody else?
I move that the initial.
We have a motion
We have
on
a
the floor.
motion.
The motion is just to consider revision of the policy, correct?
No, the
No.
motion is to consider the request
to
to
waive.
waive the fee for country limo.
So you could make a motion to amend the motion.
I move to amend, as I said at the outset, that it seems, based on what I know, that the initial penalty is appropriate. And because the agency could not respond quickly enough, I mean, I'm not being critical, but it's 5 or 6 weeks back, I think that the supplemental fee that's prorated should be waived.
So now you need a second to that motion.
So, just so I'm clear, and just give me a moment here, it's to amend the motion so that the fee is the straight late fee, and what's the rest?
Waive the
And
prorate.
waive
Correct.
the pro rata, okay. Thank you.
So where would that get us?
Well, it needs a second before it.
Yes, I know that.
So.
All right. Does anybody want to second this?
I can second it.
Thank you. All right, it's open for discussion now. So I repeat my question.
Okay. Let me just find them.
If I understood correctly, Tom, instead of a $650 total penalty, it would be $500, is that accurate?
On a pro rata basis?
No, if we
Oh, you mean
did, if we
the,
did not do the prorated portion of
Okay.
the penalty.
Okay, yes, okay.
I just
I got
wanna
it.
verify
Yeah,
before I
verify.
say anything. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't not do it, because we're supposed to find out.
So the additional penalty of $250 ratable for 30 days after due date until report submission. Additional, that's a $250 penalty, incomplete submission is $500. And an additional $250 for 30 days from March 21st, the date they received a response from the agency, to April 9th, which was 18 days, was an additional $150. So you want to waive the $150. Is that correct?
I heard $250.
I heard 250,
No,
no?
it's a $250 pro ratable.
Oh,
for
okay, I
30
got
days.
you, I got you.
Prorated,
To deny the waiver of the 500 and waive the pro rata. That's, I think, that, and yeah, you need to,
That is
you need to vote on the amendment
That's the
first.
substance of what we're trying to do, I believe.
So the amendment is to charge the late fee of $500 and to, reduce the 150 to 0.
To waive the one
Sets
thirty.
a
Waive the
precedence.
150.
Sets a precedence.
No, I know,
All right,
but
any
that's the
any more
motion.
discussion? All those in favor of the amended motion?
I'm against.
I'm against.
All right, let me start,
Against.
Tony, against? Larry?
Favor?
Okay.
Against.
You wanna put any pressure on you?
No,
We can,
I'm trying to, because it does set up a precedent, that, and I'm not, however, if the governance committee, I'm just trying to weigh that at this particular point, but this is specific about this, so.
Well, I can make it simpler because I'm gonna vote, what's the terminology that I should use, waive? This is the,
So you're
amended
either going
motion.
to abstain,
No,
yes,
no,
or no?
only yes,
You're for it, to
Yeah.
waive the
Yeah.
150.
yes, so we
Okay.
got,
You're for waiving the 150.
3 and 1.
No,
No.
no, no, no.
No?
Tony Barisi
You wanna
is against,
waive it?
no.
Okay, no.
And I said no,
Larry?
no to waiving the pro rata.
You're a yes?
Larry's a yes.
I'm a yes.
To waive
Okay.
the pro rata.
Lori's
And
a
you're a
no.
I'm a no.
Alright, so now we're even. You still a guy.
I know.
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna vote in favor. It's waived.
So 3 yes,
Yeah.
2 against,
So the motion
the
is
fee
carried.
is waived.
Now we have to
Actually,
do
the
the
motion,
act,
actually,
now we
the
have to do
motion
the
is now
actual
amended
Yeah.
to say that the fee, that the fee be charged, the base fee be charged, and the pro rata be waived. That's the motion before the board,
Right.
if you wish to call that vote.
That's what you voted for, is that correct?
We voted to amend the resolution to say that, so now we're,
Alright.
yeah, it's awkward because of the way that resolutions get moved and amended.
Now we need another motion.
No, we have the
No, we
motion.
have the
Oh,
motion.
we do.
Just need a vote.
Okay. Alright.
I'm sorry, who motioned?
I did the motion.
What are we
the
voting
original
on now?
motion.
So there was an original motion
Yeah.
to
And then we
consider
amended.
waiving the fee, and we just amended that motion.
We're voting on the amendment, that's what
We're
No.
voting on the amended motion,
Right.
okay?
motion as amended. So it's the original movement's motion as amended.
And you're saying we have to vote on it now? What did we just vote on?
Well, you voted to amend it.
It's
The-
just ministerial.
Right, forgive the lawyer, cause the lawyers make a mess
okay.
of everything.
Well, let's just do it and get on for crying out loud. In this respect, so we'll vote on. What are we voting on now?
Charge the 500, waive the 150.
Try to do this again, but yes or no?
No.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, we got, 2,
No.
no,
Yes.
yes, yes. Alright, it passes 3 to 2. You need to do anything else?
Thank you. I think we've done enough.
I'm glad I'm not typing that up.
Thanks for the discussion, and,
Could only
Yeah.
let me say this, that we probably ought to discuss this still.
Yes.
Where we're going in the future, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I think sooner is better, and I almost was, gonna suggest that we abstain from any voting for 30 days, where we could put a policy in place, so we don't set a precedent, that is.
We have a policy,
No, I know,
But, yeah,
but we
we have-
need
Clarification. on it.
clarification. Well,
and, yeah, we consider
Yeah.
the policy we have, and that'll take place at the next governance meeting.
That's good.
I have
We'll be
more.
at the door for us, don't worry.
Alright, we're still in the, executive director's report.
Correct.
Yes.
And I have another review of another company.
Is that in here?
It is in my executive director's report, not on your agenda.
Okay.
So, you will wanna take a moment and read as I will, and make sure I'm giving you the right one. Yes.
Shouldn't we have two?
no, you need one, there's 2 pages.
Oh,
Back
yeah.
up in a red draft.
Thank you. They all have those now.
You have doubles, everybody
Yes.
has one copy? So. Let me just collect myself here. Pike Realty maintains an outstanding pilot payment late fee in the amount of $2,031. And also an outstanding late compliance fee. We have at this point typically brought before the board, a question as to whether this company should now come in for, receive a notice of hearing to, determine whether they are delinquent with their compliance.
We had this last year, didn't we? With Ralph and Tom?
We've had them on
This is,
companies, yes.
and with this,
on both of these companies.
Where a company has failed to pay a fee that's been assessed and they've not asked for a waiver, then it's an unpaid fee, and you need to follow due process and have a hearing, on that issue. It's not a public hearing in the sense of asking the public their opinion, it's a evidentiary hearing to determine whether the fee is properly assessed, and whether, if it is properly assessed, if it's been paid, and then if the answer to both of those is yes, what, penalty or result the board would impose. So the previous, issue was a request to waive the fee. That will be that notification will go to the applicant, and then either they'll pay or not, and then you'd be at this stage of considering whether to have a
Just
hearing.
So
remember,
now,
the resolution
this-
is authorizing notice of the hearing for determination on compliance, Pike Realty Company LLC. That's what we're determining.
correct, the pilot has been paid, but there are assessed fees,
The late fees that we assess.
and also general municipal law fees. And they are, I added to you the letter that they had received regarding the late fee, and it's been unresponded.
Two questions. If I read this correctly, then there is an additional penalty accruing for each month that they delay. So the sum due now will grow if it's still open a month or 2 months from now, correct?
Well,
Late
I'm
payment
gonna
penalty
have to-
will be additional 1% for each month.
it's calculated on the pilot payment, and the pilot payment was actually paid. So it stopped the clock. This is
So
just the late fee
They still
assessed
owe
on
more than $2,000, and there will be no,
additional
a
fee,
year from now, it'll still be 2,000.
correct. This is the fee on the late payment.
Got it.
With a caveat, if you've made a final determination and it then becomes a default of their obligation, if I recall this agreement correctly, it carries a statutory 9% interest component after the default has been declared. So at the moment, they're not in default, because you haven't had a hearing.
Correct.
So it's over that fixed amount. If you determine a default, notify them of the amount, it remains unpaid pursuant to the agreement, I believe there's a 9% penalty after that date.
That's the Title I 874.
I'm not sure what you're looking at, so. Where are we?
Title,
It's not important.
general
It's not-
municipal law.
874, talking about the
Reference.
pilots, no, that's different.
That section, if they hadn't paid it at all, that amount would continue to be
On
accrued
the pilot itself.
of the
yeah,
pilot
of course.
itself. That's what
That's
that's
what this
referring,
refers
that's
to.
what that's referring to. 874 is, prior to about, 10 years ago, there was no penalty section in the general municipal law, so we had our own penalty section, and then we remitted those monies to the school district if there were any late fees collected. Then they amended the general municipal law to say that you had to collect a penalty, and the agency also imposed its additional agency penalty for the processing of the late fee.
And the hearing is to give them an opportunity to come in and say, we're mistaken, and they're not in default.
Correct.
Well, I'm still confused in this respect. To me, that would be the time, if, it doesn't go, if it's supposed to go, or they don't come in, then you go to default.
Right, then you declare default,
so
and
not
then the
now.
9% would begin to
Yeah.
accrue at that time.
Had they requested a hearing?
No, they did not.
Okay, so they have not given us any correspondence that would
They missed the
shed light.
30-day deadline.
Okay, so they had a 30-day deadline to, share with us any extenuating circumstances that may have occurred that resulted in
Correct.
the penalty.
And I
That-
did do
That
this-
didn't happen.
Correct.
Okay.
And that was to show you the letter that I sent, he's
Right.
provided,
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity. And I did do a site visit last week or the week before, and I spoke with the owner, and, he asked about that, and I said, well, you've missed the deadline according to the policy. If you would like to write a letter anyway and request a meeting with the board, by all means, go ahead, but he was leaving on vacation, so that was like, I'll follow up again.
Okay, so in our
But-
process, this is our next step, that
Correct.
we'll, be having him, or inviting him to come in
Right, he'll
and-
receive a notice, for a hearing.
Right.
To make a determination on whether he's in compliance or not,
And he's received a copy of this,
yes.
Yes.
And you'll have a date or date, this hearing?
yes, September second.
I usually denote the next board meeting,
Yeah, okay.
unless told otherwise. You should've got a copy of this.
I have.
Okay.
All right, anything further, discussion? All right, all those in favor? Somebody wanna move it?
Motion to,
No, we didn't do that yet, thank you.
I'll make the motion.
All right, second,
Second.
you got a second? Great. You got a
I do,
second?
I
Okay,
have it.
good. Wanted to make sure you didn't have two seconds. Put your hand up first. All right. We're gonna vote, we'll poll this. Your vote?
I'm in favor.
No? Okay. Larry?
Same.
Okay.
In favor?
In favor. You're in favor, so that's unanimous, that's what we are to do, get a hold of Mr. Castelli and ask him to come in and chat with us if he wishes. That's an aside, if you wishes. So there's more.
yes.
Okay.
This is, also a late pilot payment fee that has not been paid. So the pilot has been paid, but the late fee assessed on the late pilot has not.
I'll move to schedule it here.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Well, are we moving to move this resolution, or just, do I have to
That's what-
change it? Okay. And who seconded, I'm sorry?
That was great.
I do.
More from the executive director's report?
That's it.
All right. We're gonna go into executive session now. So other than the, board, we have to clear the room.
A recess, the regular meeting?
Oh, that's right.
I'll
We
make
need
the
a motion to do a recess.
I'll make a motion to recess. the
Second.
regular meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, aye? Aye. Okay.
Six oh
We're in recess as of,